Happy Friday, everybody. Good evening to you. I'm Nate Eaton. It is October 17th, 2025. Welcome to Courtroom Insider. Let me know where you're at tonight, where you're watching from, and if you have any questions. And I'm just glad you're here. We've been off a couple of nights. We've been hosting some city council debates here and mayoral debates, or at least streaming them here in Eastern Idaho. We're getting ready for our election. So glad to be back here tonight. There's been a lot that's happened this week. We have some news to talk about with Emmanuel Haro and his father pleading guilty. We have some news on Kouri Richins. We have some news on Ellen Greenberg and a case that has not really garnered a lot of media attention. But tonight, the sister-in-law and a relative of a missing Utah woman who was found murdered in a car a year ago, they're here. A lot of twists and turns with this case, and it's quite sad. It is quite disturbing, and we're hoping that there will be some answers that come. I want to start tonight by talking about Ellen Greenberg. We, of course, were talking about her earlier this week on Courtroom Insider. This is the school teacher in Pennsylvania who, back in 2011, was found with 20 stab wounds, and her death was originally ruled a homicide, and then it was changed to a suicide. And then her parents were saying this isn't right. So many red flags with this case. It's been in the news. There was a docuseries that just came out on Hulu, and I was able to catch up with Nancy Grace. Nancy Grace has written a book about this, what happened to Ellen, and she has interviewed the family. She's interviewed the experts, the people that have been associated with it. The big news this week that we talked about is the fact that the police, or the medical examiner, is still the new one. The new ME is now saying, no, it was a suicide. There's a lot of unusual circumstances, but it was a suicide. Even though the old ME changed his mind and said, okay, no, it was a homicide. A lot of questions there. I was on my way to work yesterday when Nancy Grace called, and we started talking about this case. And I said, hold on, Nancy, can I record this and play it for Courtroom Insider? And she said, sure. So this is about a couple minutes long. I'm sorry, I was driving. I couldn't hop in here and record this. So this is just on my phone. I hit the record button with Nancy Grace and her thoughts about the change. I'm going to play it for you right now.
When you heard that this has now been ruled a suicide again?
Nate Eaton, I am beside myself with the most recent ruling in the Ellen Greenberg case. You have a new medical examiner come on the scene and rubber stamp the ruling many years ago by Merlin Osborne. Since that time, Osborne has stated on the record he was pressured to change his ruling from homicide to suicide, and he believes this is actually a homicide. That is the doctor that performed the autopsy. The doctor that was dragged into a closed-door meeting with Philly PD and a rep from the district attorney's office who now has immunity in the case. That medical examiner now says he believes this was a homicide. And out of the blue, the city's chief medical examiner currently, Dr. Lindsay Simon, states that it's a suicide. That would be a primary line of cross-examination for me. Were I cross-examining Dr. Simon regarding the new decision that it's suicide again? Because Simon did not see the body. Simon was not in the closed-door meeting. So what does Simon know? Nothing. I'm very distraught. And again, as I have said, and I know how these things work, everyone in power there now has ties to the regime that first ruled this a suicide. In other words, if I were asked to go and investigate people within the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, I would go in thinking that the allegations were wrong because I know some of those people, right?
Right.
You consider them your friends, your colleagues, beyond reproach. No, absolutely not. The current Governor Shapiro, who had one foot in the Oval Office as vice president, goes all the way back. He was the state attorney general when all this was going down. Now he's the governor. I'm sure he is agreeable to a rubber stamp. He's done nothing to help the Greenbergs at all. The current DA has ties to the last DA. The current police have ties to the last police. Therefore, as I said at the beginning, Nate, we have to bring in independent federal investigators. That's our only hope.
Right.
And along that line, Nate, I believe that the only thing that's left for us to do now is to beg the Attorney General, the U.S. Attorney in that jurisdiction, which is the Eastern District of Pennsylvania, to intervene. His name is David Metcalf. I understand he has an excellent reputation. He has been a prosecutor in the past, and frankly, at this juncture, he's our only hope. There is one other alternative, and that is reaching out directly to Pam Bondi. I never thought it would go this far, Nate, that the cover-up, the blind eye, would reach this high.
Yeah.
But it has. And I have theories. Of course, we all have theories. All I know is Ellen did not commit suicide. Any idiot on the street can see that. She's got 20 stabs to her body, 10 to the back. That's not suicide. Hello? And the back of her head, for Pete's sake? Ridiculous.
Right.
So why is there a cover-up? Who is benefiting from this? I don't know the answer to that. But I know Ellen did not commit suicide. Now, let me point out that the feds have intervened in many cases. The feds are prosecuting the Luigi Mangione case, although there are perfectly reliable and experienced prosecutors locally. But the feds are involved. The feds got involved in the Sean Diddy Combs case when there were local charges that could have been brought, but the feds did it. Right?
Right.
We see the feds in many, many cases where locals could have performed the prosecution and the investigation. This is a case that screams, that begs for federal intervention. That's the only hope now.
So there's nobody there in the state, Nancy, that could do it, like the Attorney General. I guess you mentioned the governor, but
The General is appointed. No. The Attorney General is in lockstep with the governor.
right.
Governor was the AD at the time. This case was brewing. Red flags were waved in their faces. But what happened? A closed door meeting where now, under oath, the medical examiner that performed this autopsy says he was pressured by Philly PD and an assistant district attorney who now has immunity to change his ruling from homicide to suicide. That reeks. That is contrary to every principle of justice we have in our country. We are not in communist China or Russia where there are closed door proceedings that determine what will happen in cases. This is America.
Yeah,
And I do not like the subterfuge that is occurring in this case.
I can't imagine what her parents are thinking. They've spent so much money hiring their own investigators and everything, just trying to get justice for their daughter.
The parents, I'm sure, are devastated. And extremely, extremely disheartening is a moment when Sandy, who is Ellen's mother, told me he thinks the officials in Pennsylvania are, quote, waiting for us to die and go away. That they're waiting for Josh and Cindy to pass away so this case goes away. Thinking no one will say anything and no one will do anything. And that is heartbreaking to me.
Yeah. Anything that you want to add, Nancy?
I'm devastated. And the only thing I know at this point is to try and get the U.S. attorney involved.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you to Nancy Grace. Thank you for putting up with me. I know you're watching me listen to a call, but as I mentioned, I was walking into work. She had called and I wanted to be sure that I could share that with you. So that is the Nancy Grace's reaction to the Ellen Greenberg. We will wait and see if the U.S. attorney does get involved or the Attorney General for the United States of America, Pam Bondi, as she mentioned, she could perhaps get involved. I have a feeling this story is not over, though, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. We had some news yesterday. On Thursday, Emmanuel Haro's father pleading guilty in the death of their child. Unfortunately, baby Emmanuel is still missing. But Jake Haro appeared in court and pleaded guilty to second-degree murder for the death of his 7-month-old son, Emmanuel, who has been missing since August. He pleaded not guilty earlier this month, which honestly, that's a very quick turnaround to switch your plea that quick. You know how the court system works. It's months and months and years. And he flipped and said, no, I am guilty. They still don't know where the baby is. His wife, Rebecca, was also arrested. She remains in jail and has also pleaded not guilty as well. Jake Haro also pleaded guilty to filing a false police report and assault of a child under 8. Of course, this was the case that we learned about when Rebecca said that she was at a Big Five sporting goods store. This is in California. And she said that she was changing the baby's diaper when someone came up and she said punched her, beat her up. And when she came to, the baby was gone. And did interviews with the media saying somebody stole my baby. There were a lot of inconsistencies, the police said. And then the police arrested them, charged them with murder at their home. They were arrested, and a couple days later, Jake went out with the detectives, and it looked like they were searching along a busy road for any of the baby's remains. Never found any, and so hopefully they can find him, and they will be able to, at least properly bury his body. Both remain jailed on $1 million bond. And we'll see if Rebecca changes her plea and when the sentencing will happen for Jake. Okay, the other big news this week, Kouri Richins. We talked about this, I think, 2 weeks ago when her attorneys filed a motion saying that the prosecutor's allegations of where she got the drugs from the nanny, from the housekeeper, and gave them to her husband and killed him, that person said they never had the drugs. So the source of where she would have gotten the poison, the drugs, she couldn't get. And that's what the defense said. Therefore, that part of the case shouldn't be admitted. Prosecutors have now responded. KSL.com, let me read you what they said. They're saying a recent about face, this is their reporting, Pat Reevy, by the man accused of providing the fentanyl used to kill Richens' husband is not credible. That's what the prosecutors are saying. And there is still substantial evidence for a jury to find her guilty of murder. Earlier this month, her defense team filed a motion stating Robert Crozier signed an affidavit saying he sold OxyContin to Carmen Lauber, not fentanyl. Richens is charged with killing her husband, aggravated murder, attempted murder, felonies, along with other crimes. He died in March of 2022. He had been sick a month earlier. She's accused of putting fentanyl in his food at that time on Valentine's Day. She's also accused of buying fentanyl from her housekeeper, Carmen, who allegedly acquired it from Crozier. So in their responses to the motions filed yesterday, prosecutors say that Robert Crozier's recent assertion that he understood that the pills he sold Carmen contained only OxyContin does not amount to a material charge in circumstances. Regardless, substantial evidence exists to support the aggravated murder charge, notwithstanding his recent assertion. In response, they provided a partial transcript of an interview that detectives did with Crozier back in 2023. It wasn't like she was asking for oxycodone or something like that, and she got fentanyl pills. And right, no, Crozier interjected. So she knew there was fentanyl in those pills. Absolutely, said Crozier. So they have that on tape. He said that to the police in 2023. He is saying he supplied the drug and Kouri Richins knew what it was. Prosecutors allege further that his recent assertion that the pills he sold Mr. Lauber contained only OxyContin does not withstand modest scrutiny. He doesn't know the composition of the pills because, as the defense often notes, they were never tested. He's a low-level street dealer who got the pills from an unidentified, quote, source at a time when nearly every pill on the street contained some amount of fentanyl. Ultimately, Mr. Crozier's interview is corroborated by the constellation of means, motive, and opportunity evidence against Richens, and the toxology reports show Eric Richens died of fentanyl poisoning. Mr. Crozier's assertion does not amount to a material change in circumstances because it is not credible. So the trial is, we'll see what the judge rules. If he'll let that be dismissed, thrown out, if he'll let it stay. This trial doesn't begin until February 23rd. Jury selection begins February 10th. It's going to be in Summit County, Utah, which is in Park City. So it will be interesting to see what happens. The Crozier is set to testify, and there'll be other developments, pretrial motions filed in the coming months and weeks, and well, I won't say years, but between now and March when this goes to trial, or February when this goes to trial. And we'll keep on top of it. All right, I want to jump over to another story that this is an interesting one. Out of Roosevelt, Utah. This is a woman named Kimberly Hyde. 1 year ago, in the small town of Roosevelt, Utah, she disappeared. It shocked her community. She was getting ready to go on a road trip with her husband. Then they were going to go on a mission for the LDS church. She vanished on an October morning. Later, in Vernal, Utah, her body was found deceased in a vehicle. And the person charged with her murder was the neighbor, who's a Filipino native, who fled the country the day after Kimberly Hyde was killed. His son was charged as an accessory to murder, and he also is no longer in America, along with the wife of the man, neighbors. The family is hoping for justice. There's still an active arrest warrant out for the killer, alleged killer, but again, he is in the Philippines. So, tonight, Kimberly Hyde's daughter-in-law, Jess, is here to speak with me about this case, and Jessica Boren, and then another family relative, Sandy, is also speaking with me, and they just want to keep the case alive. They are hoping for justice. We spoke just a little while ago. Here is my interview about this disturbing case. Now, tell me your relationship to Kimberly.
She's my mother-in-law. I'm married to her son.
Okay.
And she was married to my brother prior. So she was my sister-in-law for like 25-ish years.
Okay.
Her kids are my nephews and niece-in-laws.
Okay. So why don't we start by going back to the last time that you guys saw Kimberly? Do you remember when that was?
Yeah, the night before she went missing. They were getting ready to leave, and my family, so there's me and my husband, and I have two kids, and we went over and had dinner with them that night.
And what was that dinner like?
And it's kind of funny because we had our dinner and they were however they normally are. But then during the dinner, um, Mike brings up, so Mike is her husband. He brings up because they were getting ready to leave. And for probably a year or more, Kim had prepared me with everything to take care of while they're gone because they weren't like moving or anything. They were just leaving for 6 months in their RV. So she told me when I had to go and check on the house and what I was supposed to do when I checked on the house. And like, I mean, she's just that kind of person prepared. She had her will ready. Like my husband and his brother had to go sign if in a wreck or if they got hurt or dead, who would take over everything. Like she was just really prepared like that. So she was kind of filling me in on the rest, making sure I was doing my job. Gave me the key to her mailbox, gave me the checks and some money to go, or not checks. I don't know. She was renting out a house and I was supposed to go to the guy, and whenever he paid me for the house, I was supposed to deposit it and then give him the receipt. So one of those kinds of books.
Right.
And then Mike said, and by the way, our neighbor's going to come over and check on the car, start the Jeep like once a week so that I don't know why he would do that. He had some reason, my husband remembers. And we were like, okay, I thought we were doing all that. And who is this guy? We didn't even know who he was. And he's like, oh, well, this is so and so. And my daughter actually went to school with one of the sons of the neighbors. And my boy also went to school with another son of the neighbors. And we were like, okay, I guess. And then Mike said specifically, the part I remember was, so if you see some dark guy in my garage, don't shoot him.
Mm.
Okay, sounds good. And told him that they gave him the code to the garage. And we were just like, okay. And then kind of dinner as normal. And then when we left, the first thing me and my husband were like, I wonder why I thought we were supposed to do that kind of stuff. I wonder why all of a sudden now this guy that they've known, we didn't even know who he was until then. Like I'd known the kids because they went to school, but I didn't know they were their neighbors. Didn't know any of that. And we're like, I wonder why they were doing that. That's really weird. And then went home, and that was about it for the night until the next day.
And Jess, was this in Roosevelt?
Yeah. Yep. All of
Okay.
this was in Roosevelt.
So you have this family dinner. They had been planning to go on a road trip in the RV for 6 months.
Yeah. And
And
then
they
go on a mission after that.
and then go on a mission. Okay, so
Yeah.
they were giving you kind of the final instructions on here's what you need to do to take care of this. And by the way, our neighbor will be coming over to start the car once a week, I guess, just to be sure the battery doesn't die, keep it in maintenance or whatever.
Yeah. Yes.
In the garage.
In the garage.
In the
Yeah.
garage.
In the garage, you're right. Yeah, why would you need to start it if it was in the garage? And
Right.
what time of year was this?
October.
October. Yeah.
So about a
Like
year ago.
around
Are
this
we-
time, about a year ago. Yeah.
A year ago. Sandy, do you
Yep.
remember the last time you saw Kimberly?
Honestly, like I would bump into her in a store, or we hadn't kept in close contact over the years, and more close contact with the kids, because they're my nephews and nieces.
Mm-hmm.
Kim, I don't know. Probably at the stake center at state conference or something some years ago.
You'd see her at
And
church.
yeah, my husband's grandma had talked to her a little bit before that. Was it the Wednesday? The Wednesday before she went missing at one of my daughter's volleyball game. And do you want me to tell you? You'll have to remind me exactly what she said. So she was really excited about going on this trip with Mike.
She said if we don't get
Oh, she turned to Lana Jean and said, if we don't kill each other first.
Okay,
Which-
interesting.
Yeah.
I guess you can take that a couple of ways. Sometimes we might jokingly say that about our loved
Right.
ones. Like, I hope I don't kill him,
Right.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's why we never thought anything of it. Just like, oh yeah.
Right.
Until this happened. Then you're like, oh, crazy.
You rethink
My-
everything.
Yeah, exactly. And on that same dinner, Corver reminded me, whenever I went to my in-laws, to Kim's house, I kind of tuned them out a lot because they are different. And so he reminded me, remember when Grandma said that all of her paperwork, her will and all of that was under her bed? And I was like, oh no, I don't remember her saying that. And then we never heard anything about it other than we do know that my husband, his name is Cody, and his brother's name is Colt, that they were going to take over the will and everything, like make sure she made sure to let us know where everything was. So if something did happen, never did hear anything about if they got that paperwork or if anything happened with it.
So what happened the next day?
Okay, the next day we went to school. I coach volleyball and my daughter is also on the volleyball team. And I had got a phone call from Mike, which was very rare. I don't know. He called me maybe 3 or 4 times in the
And Mike
20
is
years
Kim's
I've known him.
husband.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he calls me right after the game. So I'm guessing it was around 7-ish, somewhere around there. And he said, we thought they were coming to the game. Like that's what Kim had told us. They were going to come to her game. And he's like, have you seen Kim? And I said, no. Well, no, I don't think so because I was coaching. I said, I don't remember seeing her in the stands, but I don't look at the stands a lot when I'm coaching. And he said, okay, well, she's missing. And I said, missing? What do you mean missing? Like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, she's gone. I was like, okay, well, let me get everything gathered up here. And so we got everything gathered up. I got off the phone with him, and my daughter and I just went and drove around to see if she's like at the grocery store or the bank or any of that weird stuff, just where she would be. And we didn't see anything. So I called my husband, told him what was going on. And he texted Mike and asked what was going on. And he just said she's missing. And then the next morning, so the morning after we knew that she was gone and everything, my husband texted Mike and said, any updates? And he said no. And then I went to school, and then my husband texted me a little bit later and was like, oh, actually, Mike just texted me and said he did find a little bit of dried up blood. And I was like, what is going, like, what do you mean? And so I work just across where she lives. Like there's just a little lot right there in between. All my friends were like, you need to go over there. Something's going on because he's on a Facebook page giving updates every, I don't know, 30 minutes to his ward Facebook page, which I'm not a part of, giving them all this information and stuff. Never once contacted me, my husband, his brother, or anybody about any of it. So I was like, okay. So I go over there, and there's a cop sitting in the front in his truck in front of her driveway. And so I asked him, I'm like, what is going on? And they're like, well, we're trying to run our cards right now, and we might have found her at a Maverick or something. And I was like, what? So she's gone still? Like she's still gone? We don't know where she is? Because where I hadn't heard any updates, I just assumed they had found her and she was home.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, she's still gone. I was like, what the heck? So I go in the house. Mike's sitting there on a computer like this, talking with someone. Another cop was in there along with some other people, and he was shutting down all the credit cards and talking about to his bank to see what he had to do. And I was like, what is going on? What is happening? He walks me through a couple parts of the house and tells me that her purse was sitting right here, which was in the guest bedroom, and he like gave the motion of like that had been dumped out, and the purse was still sitting there where the wallet and everything was missing. And he's like, and so they've taken her. And I said, they've taken her? Who's taken her? Well, I thought she was missing. What do you mean taken her? So I was like way behind. I had no idea what was going on. And then I called you guys, I guess, after
Well,
that.
I think we just drove by.
Oh, did you
So,
drive
Yeah,
by?
saw you there and stuff.
and I'm assuming you guys called her cell phone and everything, and she's not answering.
Oh, I called her cell phone. They had told me that she went to Walmart, she went to the hairstylist. They told me some of these places. So I called every place that they had told me she was supposedly going. Talked to the lady at the hairstylist. She was like, yeah, she was here and everything was fine, but we didn't find her phone. So I called Walmart and asked if they had had a phone turned in or anything. They're like, no, we haven't, but if we do, we'll call you back. I went to all the neighbors around, asked if they had any video footage, if they knew of anything that happened yesterday. No one said anything.
And
She
could you
lives kind of
find a
by,
friend on the phone? Like, does it have one of those trackers where you could ping her phone?
They had pinged her phone.
yeah, the police officers had. We hadn't, or
Mm-hmm.
Mike hadn't, but the police officers had pinged her phone and realized she was in Vernal. And that's when I called my husband because he was actually up on the mountain hunting. And I said, you got to get down here. I don't know what is going on, but you got to get down here. So that was probably 2 hours later. And he goes into the Vernal Police Department. So we're 30 minutes away from Vernal. Roosevelt and Vernal are 30 minutes away. They didn't even know they didn't even know she was missing. They had no idea that this was even something that was going on. And so finally, it was on their radar after my husband told them, and they ended up being the ones that found her car later that evening.
Sandy, you were saying you drove by. I would imagine in this small community, everyone quickly learns that she's missing.
Right, right.
Except
I actually had seen, because he had posted on Facebook. So I had seen that Facebook post early, like probably 5 o'clock that morning, and started reaching out to people. At first, he was retiring, didn't want to retire. But when I first started reading it, I was thinking he's doing something funny. Like you're going to get to the end of this post and, she's really here. Just something about the retirement. When I got to the end, he had said some weird things about like 72-hour kits. And I'm like, he's done something to her. Like she's gone. And so we drove down by there. I just wanted to make sure Jess was okay. We drive down by there and she was walking out on the sidewalk at that point on the phone, just sobbing, just sobbing, not knowing what's going on. So we just
Yeah.
stopped and we're kind of there with her the rest of the day there in front of their house.
So your husband ends up in Vernal, And walk us through, like, who found her car? What was the shape of the car? What was inside?
Well, I don't know who found her car. Someone had posted on Facebook. That's how my sister was with me, and we were sitting down with everyone at lunch, like wondering what was going. So we had her and my father-in-law and quite a few of us were there. And on Facebook, my was it you or my sister? She saying that someone said, "Oh, there's a car in Vernal that looks like hers or something," and me and my sister just took off. We went straight to Vernal.
Mm.
And by the
And it was
time we had
hers.
got there, yeah, it was blocked off, and I was trying to get through. The cops wouldn't let me through, so the sheriff had to come pick me up and take me down to the sheriff's office and said, "You just need to wait. You just need to wait here." And right as soon as that happened, my husband called, and the Roosevelt, some police officers had told him that she was dead. So I dropped right there. He had to get me in the car, but I was like, "She's dead. She's dead." And he's like, how do you know she's dead? We don't even know who's in the car yet." And we were like, "Well, that's just what the Roosevelt Police Department told us." And they were like, "No, we can't confirm that yet. So let's take you down to the sheriff's police department and we'll see." And then it was hours later before they came and confirmed anything to us.
And
But
what
they
did
told
they
us it
tell
was
you?
her. They told us it was her. They didn't want to show us any pictures or anything because I was like, because they said at the very beginning when I first talked to the sheriff, they're like, "We don't even know if that's her." And I said, "Well, show her. Let me go see, and I'll tell you if it's her or not." And he's like, "You don't want to see it. You don't want to see this." And I was like, "Okay."
Mm.
So they came back and told me it was her. She's been murdered. Her face is distorted. Like they told us, like it was just not good.
Mm. I can't imagine that, from
Yeah,
going to having dinner with her the night before to that the next day.
exactly,
S-
exactly.
So where did it go from there?
Well, in the during the middle of the day before I had left to Vernal, I was still outside. We had called. He used to be the sheriff, but he's also a relative. He used to be the sheriff, and he came down. And finally, when he came down to their house, all of a sudden cops started showing up and things started happening. But during that time, when I was walking around and trying to like figure out what the heck is going on, I went into Mike and I said, what was it, this blood? I seen something about blood. My husband said you said there was a little bit of blood or a little dried blood." And he was like, "Oh, let me show you." And as we're walking into the bedroom, he said, I asked him, I said, "Well, did she get a bloody nose or something? Like, is this even relevant?" And he's like, "No, she didn't get bloody noses." And he's weird anyway. So I just kind of shook my head and walked in there, and all over the bed, there's blood, dried up blood. Well, it wasn't even dry. I mean, it had soaked through to the mattress when the cop finally got there. This was in the afternoon to take the bedding off. I had watched him do it, and there was blood soaked into the mattress.
And
They,
also,
they seem
Mike had
fresh.
posted,
Oh,
yep,
100%. Like if I had seen that, I guarantee I would have said, "Shut my house down now. Police come in here, do your investigate, like do everything you're supposed to do." I would have freaked out had it been my husband or anybody. I would have freaked out. But he slept there the whole night. Supposedly, Mike said that he had told the cops about it, but he didn't make it seem like it was just a little tiny, like you could tell that something had happened
Hmm.
that was not good.
Sorry, Sandy, what were you going to say?
well, I just was going to say that he had posted during the night on, was it on the ward Facebook
I'd
post
never seen it.
that
Yeah.
he had found blood and supposedly had called the cops the night before. But why are the bloody covers still on the bed the next morning if he called the cops?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah. And they ended up finding blood all throughout the house.
Mm. I just think about if my wife is missing, I don't know if I'm going to be updating my Facebook page or posting
Right,
in groups.
right,
So
right.
that's kind of a red flag. So you're there's the blood in the house, there's the car that's found in Vernal, and then her body is discovered mutilated or at least in a really bad condition. I would
Yes.
imagine you guys are thinking, okay, who's going to be charged? What happens now? And what did the officials tell you at that point?
They didn't say anything other than I just wanted Mike investigated. I wanted him looked at because I mean I am an armchair detective, I guess you could say, but everything I've seen and watched and heard, it's usually someone that's really close to them, like 90% of the time. And when he never even left. Like when we found out she was in Vernal, he just went out. Well, a detective had came and finally kicked us out, and this was in the afternoon.
Yes.
Kicked us out, took his phone and took his computer. When they took the bedding, the cop just grabbed the bedding with his hands, threw it over his shoulder. And I said, can we finally get this shut down and get it investigated now, please? And he turned and looked at me and said, we don't have enough. I was like, enough what? And he just walked away.
And so there was people going in and out of their house the entire morning.
Yeah.
In fact, the couple from the Philippines were there that
Oh,
morning.
they were there that morning. Yeah. When I had walked in, they were in there already.
Yes.
Now, the couple from the Philippines, is that the neighbor that was going to check on the Jeep?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who
The one that
actually
killed
done
her.
the deed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one that killed her.
And Kim had gone to Vernal with the wife of the man who killed her that morning. That's where she had been gone.
Okay, so Kim had gone with the wife to Vernal.
Yes.
Do you know what happened when they got to Vernal? I mean, she was in the
Kind
car,
of you
but
do, don't you?
They said they
and
went to lunch, they went and got their hair done, they went to Walmart. And when I had walked in that next morning, all Mike kept saying to the cop was, there's this receipt. See, she had went to Walmart. There's a receipt right here. There's this receipt. And I'm like, who gives a shit about the receipt?
And
I
not
don't,
saying anything about the blood.
yeah,
on
that,
it or-
yeah, like everything that he said was so, in my mind, ass backwards. I don't understand what, I don't know. He changed his story so many times. And all I cared about was these missing 72-hour kits and this receipt and just weird things when there was blood and there was the car was missing, like those kinds of things.
Well, there was a point also when we were all sitting outside just before they found her, and we're like Jessica's sister was there, me, Jessica, my mom, Cody. It was Colton in there at that point.
I think so.
So Jessica's sister finally turned to Mike and she's like, "Has anybody thought of like a search party?" And he goes, "Where would we look?" And we knew her phone had pinged in Vernal last, and I said, "Maybe Vernal." And he goes, "I don't know," and turned and walked off.
And when we had went, when my sister and I, and then my husband finally showed up also, went to Vernal because they said it was her, he still sat outside, sat on the grass, laid down, waited. He never came.
Actually,
Did
when
anything.
they finally knew for sure, my mom had driven Cody, her son, Jessica's husband, back to Mike's, and they're just sitting out there waiting. Well, Mike must have got the news, so he comes over and knocked on Cody's window, the passenger window on my mom's car, and Cody rolled it down and he goes, "Well, it ain't good news." And that's
that's how he told
what he
them.
said to him.
Oh
Yeah.
my. Did anyone
Yeah.
ever say directly to Mike, did you kill her or know about who did?
Not that I know of. None of us did because we, like I said, we didn't know what was going on. We had no idea what was going
You just
on.
don't live through this.
Yeah, had
Right,
no
right,
idea.
right.
And then I had left, and I don't know. I think you guys just sat in the car, and he sat on his lawn
Mhm.
the whole time till my husband came pick me up.
So I would imagine, was there a funeral a couple of days later?
Huh.
A week or two later?
Yeah, but it was going to be sooner because
Oh, yeah.
the funeral director called my husband, or I don't remember exactly how my husband and his brother got told, but said, "Hey, we're gonna have." So last we had known, they took her to Salt Lake to do their investigation and stuff. So they called my husband and Colt and said, we're gonna have this funeral here in a day or two. Like, what do you want to have happen? What do you want to do? And my brother and Colt were like, nothing. We didn't even know she's back. We had to call the funeral director to even know that they had released her body. So we didn't even know that happened. And they said, no, absolutely not. We've got to figure out what is going on before we can bury my mom. Like, my head can't even get wrapped around what is happening right now. So no, we need a minute.
And they didn't want him involved really in planning it at that time.
Yeah, they
too.
didn't.
They didn't want Mike
They didn't.
involved.
Mm-mm.
So when you did finally have the funeral, did he show up?
Oh yeah, and he sat on the pulpit and said some of the most strangest things I've ever heard in my life.
Like
Yeah,
what? Do you
never.
remember?
Dating thing, one thing.
Yeah, well, he commented about her weight and how he would get mad at her for little things, or she would get mad at him for little things. But the biggest thing was he said on the pulpit, and he said something about my wife Kim said that has to be, I'm not allowed to date or anything for a year until if she dies first, I'm not allowed to date for a year or something. And we're like, okay, well, that's really weird.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you know this, but he's about to get married in a few weeks to a woman.
And went out and spent Thanksgiving with her. So from October 7th to Thanksgiving, he was with this new
He had his
woman. So
girlfriend.
6 weeks.
Hmm.
which everyone says we don't. And again, I don't care who he's boning and what he's doing with her. I really don't care. But you can't tell me that's not suspicious after. And he had people in his home telling the same story. So I've had a lot of friends reach out and be like, "Why is he even talking about dating right now? What is?" I'm like, "I don't know. He's weird."
Tell me how the neighbor plays into it.
That's the weird thing. I didn't even know they were. I didn't even know they were friends. But some of my other friends said that they had went to temple to get ready to go to the temple prep classes with this couple also, and said that they had been talking and stuff like that. And what?
She fed them.
Oh yeah, and she fed them, took care of them, and I know she gave them. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure she gave them money and things like that. And what else was I gonna say about the family?
Did Kim have a life insurance policy?
Yeah,
And do you know what was Mike able to cash it out?
I would assume he did.
Well, you know that at least one of them.
At least one of them. He gave my husband $10,000 and his brother $10,000 or something. But when he was talking to my husband about the life insurance policy, he said, "This is how much I got. This is how much you're going to get." And
I
my
need to pay taxes.
because he's something he's like, "I need to save some extra money in case I need to pay taxes on it or something." And we're like, "Okay, well, whatever. It's your money. We don't need any of the money. We don't care about $10,000." And then my husband had talked to his friend whose dad had also died and had to get insurance. And I guess they don't tax on insurance. We didn't know that. We had no idea that. Yeah, on life insurance, we didn't even know that was a thing. So and then my daughter was supposed to get all her jewelry, including her ring and stuff like that, which we never got. And he just ended up giving each of my, I have two kids, just like $10,000 to put in a savings account.
Did he file a claim on her wedding ring?
Yeah,
That's what I understand. Filed a claim on her wedding ring, and then supposedly that money was split between Corber and Gracie.
Yeah.
Hmm. So where did the investigation go from there?
Well, that's what was weird because we get to her house and I'm begging these cops, like, please talk to me, tell me what is going on. Because what Mike is telling me is just doesn't make any sense. It just is weird. And Kim's aunt was also there. She went and helped me look around. We went and like looked through the house to see if we could find anything that was missing or weird just because of everything we'd heard. The cops still wouldn't tell us anything. So it had been the next day after we had found her and everything. I went back to her house, asked the policeman sitting there in a driveway, "Can someone please talk to me and my husband? Why has no one contacted any of us to ask us any questions? This seems bizarre. Why did you guys not contact us the day she was missing to ask if we knew where she was or anything? Why is no kind of law enforcement reaching out to us?" Begged and begged and begged. Finally, we talked to Vernal, and had to have been the day before they found out that the neighborhood did it. And me and my husband went to him and said, "Will you please do the things that you're supposed to do? We don't know what they are because you are the professionals here. You're the detectives." And he's like, "Yeah, we'll get in my car and we'll do our interviews." So I had to call my brother-in-law and say, "Come down. They're finally going to talk to us." And the son of the Filipino guy had been that night, the night that she went missing. My son and the son of the Filipino guy had went to an open gym basketball practice. And I didn't even know she was missing till 7, 8 o'clock that night. My son went to practice, I think at 7, 6, something like that. And that boy went up to my son and said, "Hey, I heard your grandma's missing. Is everything okay?" And my son said, "Oh, I didn't know that, but thanks for letting me know." And went to practice, and then all this stuff happened. Yeah, and the son, I don't know if you know this, but the son went and picked his dad up after school, and helped him dispose of all the evidence that he could, and then ended up driving his dad to the airport to flee.
Okay, let's talk about that angle now. So how old was the son? Teenager?
14.
Oh, he was a year older than Corver, though.
I thought he turned 15 after.
Oh, did he?
Well, when we went back.
Oh, okay. So 14, 15-ish.
So this is what? 2 days after the day after
The day she was
disappears, or the day she goes missing.
The day she was missing. Yeah, the day she was missing. That night, that evening is, well, right after school that day is when his name is, they call him 30. 30 went and picked his dad up and got a bunch of stuff out of the car and disposed of as much evidence as they could along their way home.
And then he went to the basketball practice, which is where he contacted Corber, Jessica's son, telling him that Kim was missing.
And then picked up his dad and took him to the airport?
No, that
in
was the
middle of
day after. That was
The
the day.
next day.
So, because their whole family, except the kids, weren't. There's two boys. They were in school. So the wife, the husband, and they have a little 5, 6 year old girl. Were that morning when I had went to Mike's house, they were all in the house. So it was probably that around noon or sometime the son had driven his dad to the airport. So it was the next day after he had killed her.
Did just the dad flee
Yeah,
at that point.
yeah, at that point, the dad. Yeah.
and went back to the Philippines?
Yeah. And then it was the day after, 1 or 2 days after that, is when they found out it was the son and went.
Well, and how did they find out? What pointed them that direction, remember?
A student.
Mike. Didn't Mike?
Oh,
Mike
well,
told them
yeah.
after they had left, after they got the dad out of the country, then Mike realized it was probably them that done it and pointed the police in that direction.
And said, I think it was the neighbor.
Yeah.
Now tell about the residents.
Which part?
Just over there, maybe.
Oh, yeah. And we found out probably a month ago, and I found out personally and had to call the detectives, and because one of my friends had said she's not working so his wife worked at the local hospital here, and they said she hasn't been here for a few weeks. Like, do you know what's going on there? And I was like, no. So we called the detectives, and they're like, well, we don't know what's going on. So they had to contact the district attorney or judge or something. And anyways, yeah, so the son had got charged, went to juvie, got on an ankle monitor. They took his passport, and he was still going to school in Vernal. So he was living in Roosevelt, but after all of this, they moved to Vernal. He was going to school there.
And what was
then
he charged
sometime,
with? Do you know
I
the
don't know
charge?
exactly what it's called, but helping.
Aiding
Like
Aiding and
accessory to
abetting.
murder or something? Okay.
Yeah, something like that. And according to the stuff we read on the news, the whole family was kind of charged, or
They were involved.
they were
but
involved, not
charged.
charged. They were involved with helping cleaning up the crime scene and stuff like that.
What would
Yeah.
have been the motive?
Exactly. I don't know. Literally have no idea. They say robbery, but I went into her room. All of her jewelry was still, I mean, we're still cleaning stuff of hers out. Mike's selling all of her stuff on Facebook.
Including like curling irons, like just silly stuff.
Yeah. So robbery, I'm guessing because he took the car. But when I was there that day, after he showed me about the blood and the cops came in, or the one police officer came in to get the bedding, Mike was telling him, or the cop asked him, is anything else missing? And he said, well, I had like $50, $60 in a drawer that's gone. And the cop was like, okay. And then Mike said, I have this safe back here. And the cop's like, well, a safe? Well, what was in it? And he's like, oh, thousands of dollars. And he's like, well, did you get into it? And Mike said, I don't know. The key's gone. I can't get into it. And that was all I heard about the safe or anything. So I have no idea if they got into it or what ended up happening there.
So
They said the cops got into it and there was no money in it, I guess. But I don't know why you would go and rob it and then lock it back up and lose the key. I don't understand any of that. But
did they ever track down the suspect in the Philippines?
they say they know where he is, but that's as far as they've gotten. I know they have filed an extradition for him, and like he has, I don't know what they call it in the Philippines, but a warrant out for his arrest.
Right. I'm just pulling up his name here. Henry Cito Piano
Resuer.
Resuer.
Something like that. Yeah.
Sorry. He's charged with
Yeah.
the murder. She was reported missing October 7th, found the next day in her car. Then he flew to the Philippines after the killing while his son and wife told investigators what happened.
Yeah, like the next day.
Right. He lived next door. They were family friends. And then, yeah, they, as you mentioned, the discussion on social media. Do you think that, tell me what you think. Do you think that they went into the home, killed her there, put her in the car and drove to Vernal?
Mm-hmm. There's camera footage, like from stoplights and different things. They have.
He went into the house before they had gotten home.
Mm-hmm.
Before Kim and his wife had gotten home, he went into her house and was pretty much waiting for her. Then the video shows the wife leaving, and then however much long after that, it shows the car leaving the garage.
Where is the 14-year-old now and his mom?
Oh, see, I never finished that story. So the detectives had called the district attorney and all that. So a couple weeks before, they had given the son his passport back, and they all went back to the Philippines.
But their story was that they were afraid of him. He was so abusive, and that's why they didn't call the police before he got out of the country. But now they're back in the Philippines with this abusive man that they were safe from.
Well, I don't know if they're with the husband or not, but they're
They're in
definitely
the
a lot
Philippines.
closer.
Yeah.
So they said the reason they didn't say anything is they were scared he might
Yes.
hurt them.
Which
or
is
something.
fine, which I understand. I was like, yeah, that's fine, but maybe by the time he was on that plane, maybe you should have told somebody.
Right.
But the only reason the son even said anything was because he had said something to one of his friends, and his friend's parents told him to call the detectives and tell him what happened.
Do you think that they'll ever get this guy over here? That he'll ever face a judge and a jury?
I hope so. I really hope so, because otherwise I'd have no idea why he did it. But the cops keep reassuring us that, yeah, they're going to get it. It might take a long time, but yes, they are going to get him.
Mm. Such a sad, bizarre story for this to happen. How do you guys want Kimberly to be remembered?
She was a good person. Like, you might be able to understand this if they lived some kind of dangerous life, or Kim was a good person. She helped everyone. She was a good grandma. She loved those grandkids. She was a, this just should never have happened. They didn't live in a bad neighborhood. They didn't, you go, Jess.
Yeah, she was just such a good grandma, and she was a great mom, and she would always think that she needed to do better all the time, and that's all she did was good. Not just for my family, but for all of her neighbors and anyone and strangers. And I just want everyone to know that she was just a good grandma, and my kids loved her so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I have her obituary here. She graduated from Duchesne High School and Utah State University. Bachelor's in social work, was given an award for the Outstanding Student of the Year, social worker for Utah's Division of Child and Family Services, the Uinta Basin Senior Villa, and Rocky Mountain Hospice. She served lunches at a local elementary before college and was an active member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Just so senseless and so hard to even understand. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that your family went through this, and I hope that they are able to get this guy back here and face the criminal justice system.
Yeah, and to tell us why. I just want to know why.
Right, right. And my thanks to both of those ladies for talking with me. You can tell that Kim just seemed like such a wonderful, wonderful person, and she should be here with her grandchildren and with her kids and preparing for that mission that she hoped to go on. And we hope that justice can be served. Sometimes these cases, when the suspects flee overseas, sometimes they can take some time to get them back. Nicholas Rossi, remember him? He's the guy that sexually assaulted a bunch of women in America and faked his death and all sorts of stuff. He fled, I think, to Scotland or Sweden. Dateline did some stories. They found him and they extradited him back. And there's just a lot of questions about this case, and hopefully they can get him back and they can get their one main question answered as to why. That's the big thing. I want to talk about newspapers.com, and they are our sponsor of Courtroom Insider, and they have done a great job supporting us. And Peggy Jepson, our comment moderator, who many of you deal with every night, she found her own family story on newspapers.com. She has no idea I'm going to do this. I'm going to call her, and I'm going to get her to share her story. She should be watching right now. Peggy, you are on with me on Courtroom Insider right now, so don't say any bad words. But you can say hi to our viewers. Peggy never says bad words. Hey, I was just talking about newspapers.com, and I know you had a personal story this week. Tell me what you discovered.
My grandma's name in, and it came up, and it was like a little gossip column. It was the funniest thing ever. It said that she and some friends went to lunch at another friend's house and had turkey dinner.
And that was in the newspaper.
That happened in that area at that time.
Well, you know, a lot of times in these small town newspapers, that's what people would send in. I remember my parents got a newspaper, and from little tiny Box Elder County, one of the communities out there that had like 10 people, Clint and Winnie would send in what they did for the week. On Monday, they did this. And honestly, Peggy, it was the best part of the paper. You'd wait to see what they did.
Well, I think it's something we should bring back, Nate.
We should. I know. Maybe we can partner with newspapers.com. You've been able to use it before. Have you found other interesting stuff?
Yes, I have. I even found that my dad graduated from 8th grade with a bunch of people, and the names were vaguely familiar because we stayed in a small community, and it was just really special. I have enjoyed it thoroughly. I recommend it to anyone who's questioning whether or not to get it. Get it. Try it.
Yeah, you can get a 7-day free trial. Thank you, Peggy. Sorry to interrupt your evening. Go up. See ya. Bye-bye. Thanks, Peggy. She didn't know I was going to do that. Newspapers.com. There's story after story after story. You could spend the rest of your life on there, and they have become such a critical resource for a lot of authors writing historical books. Marcia Clark used them heavily when she wrote her recent book called Trial by Ambush. And there's just a lot of interesting stuff on there. So newspapers.com, thank you for sponsoring Courtroom Insider. Thank you all for watching on this Friday night. Here's where you can find me. I'm on Facebook, Nate Eaton Reporter. You can find me on Instagram as well. I'm on X and YouTube. Please subscribe if you haven't, along with our Meet and the Eatons YouTube channel. That's our family's personal channel. And we will keep posting the content. We're gearing up for Secret Santa, which starts very soon. If you know of anybody in Eastern Idaho who could use a special gift this Christmas because they're in need, or they've had really bad luck and they're in just bad straits, but they're the most positive people you know, we want to hear about them, go to eastidahonews.com, the Secret Santa tab, click on that. You can nominate them. And who knows, maybe we'll be showing up at their door in our Santa hats and our Christmas coats. Everybody, thank you for watching. I hope you have a great weekend. We will be back next week with more Courtroom Insiders. All the best to you. Take care.